Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in this edition of The Inside on Equinoxe Television. We are coming to you from our studio in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, and today we are focusing on forcibly displaced persons around the globe with focus on the case of Cameroon. And the number of forcibly displaced people across the globe has been increasing over the past few years. In Cameroon, hundreds of thousands of refugees and internally displaced persons are seeking refuge in parts of the far north, Adamawa, east, west, littoral, central regions, and other parts of the country. And socio-political and security crises continue, forcing many out of their homes in the crisis-stricken regions of the Republic of Cameroon and other African nations into deplorable and precarious conditions. Despite the efforts of governments and international partners like the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, millions are still in dire need of humanitarian aid in several parts of Africa and hundreds of thousands in Cameroon. It is in this context that the theme of the 2023 World Refugee Day is tailored to rekindle hope for better days for the refugees through inclusion in the concerted efforts of stakeholders and, of course, governments and host communities. In this edition of The Inside, we are analyzing the situation with focus on Cameroon, or the case of Cameroon, and of course the 2023 theme of the World Refugee Day, Hope Away from Home, a world where refugees are always included. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is Cesar Mbav Chilombo. He is the Cameroon Deputy Resident Representative of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
What is the global situation of refugees?
The global situation of refugees, we can say the number is increasing. More than 108 million of people, displaced people, forcibly displaced people in the world, which means that in the last decade, there have been almost a double of the number, almost, I can say even 3 times more than the last decade. So the situation is still very bad in terms of displacement because of many conflicts in the world.
What percentage of these people displaced from their homes on the African continent?
I think we can say 30% for now, because most of now we have a lot of displacement in DRC, in Somalia, in Sudan, and in Ethiopia. We have a lot of displaced people and refugees. So, and now after with the war in Ukraine and Syria, we have also many refugees out of African continent.
Now, to be more specific on the case of Cameroon, what is the situation here in Cameroon? How many forcibly displaced persons do we have, internally displaced and refugees do we have in Cameroon as of now?
Roughly, we have almost more than 2 million of forcibly displaced people, and among the 4 million, the 2 million, we have almost 500,000 refugees from Central African Republic. We have also Nigeria, and we have also more than 44 other nationalities of refugees in Cameroon. And on top of that, we can talk about the internally displaced people in the far north, in southwest and northwest. And then also we have returnees, which means that people have been in some neighboring country, Cameroonian who were in a neighboring country, then they are back in Cameroon. And then also former displaced person. And then if we put together, is almost more than 2 million of forcibly displaced persons.
In the Minawao alone, in the far north region of the country, we have about 80,000 Nigerians who are currently living there.
Yes, we have almost, I can say exactly 76,000 in Minawao.
Right. Now, what explains the growing numbers of persons who are displaced either here in Cameroon, in other parts of Africa, and beyond the continent?
Mostly is political instability, and also the people are running because they are fearing for their life and for persecution, and for internal displacement population. Surely there are socio-political issues, and then there is also natural disaster for internal displaced person, because as you know, we have now a lot of, I can say, effect of climate change, moving also a lot of people. This also is a component that we have to put into consideration. And thirdly, we have also intercommunal conflict. More and more we see intercommunal conflict is creating also displacement. Fourth, we have also the terrorism and that we know, the jihadism and so on, and then creating a lot of displacement in Africa and in some country in the world.
From your observation, how serious are the intercommunity conflicts? We have cases in the far north region and also in the northwest region of the country, which were deadly and also displaced a lot of people to Chad and even within the far north or the northern regions.
Exactly. The situation has been 2021, for example, we had a big displacement in far north. Happily, the government has done a lot of efforts for the situation to be stabilized. And now we are talking about return, because at that time we had almost 44,000 that went to Chad. And then today we have almost 14,000 back in Logon Birni. And then we have in the situation in southwest of our country is mainly the problem of Mbororo and the local community.
In the northwest region.
Yes, the northwest. That's the biggest problem, but I think the government is also taking it seriously. As you know, our role as UNHCR is to help the government to address those issues, especially the protection and the right of people obliged to leave their area of habitual residence.
All right, now about the climatic factors.
Yes.
In the far north region in particular, we have this problem of drought and increasing desertification that seems to be moving quite a lot of people away from their homes.
But I can say that for the drought, people are trying to cope. But the biggest, cause of displacement is the flood. And the far north is prone to flood. That is displacing a lot of people. So we are working also in helping people to rebuild their life, and then also trying also to help them to cope with this climate change. Because at UNHCR there is no action without a climate consideration.
Right. In the Minawao in the far north region in particular, earlier I talked about the huge number of Nigerians who are there, about 80,000, precisely 76,000 of them who are there, and they are having issues of social amenities, including toilet facilities and also potable water. How are these issues, these difficulties, these challenges affecting their day-to-day living, and how are they responding to it? How are they managing to cope through this with the aid of UNHCR?
It is true that refugees are facing a lot of problems, especially access to basic service. This is mainly because, as you know, the humanitarian fund is shrinking. And then so it is making quite our job quite difficult. But at the same time, through the what we call international solidarity, we are using what we call in at UNHCR all of society approach. So bringing others to come and then to help us to sort out the deficit of service that we have you have pointed out. And what is the meaning is now we are calling also the development actors and then a different project from other UN agencies, from other humanitarian organizations to come, and then we put together our effort so that this synergy can help to sort out some issues.
All right, you certainly tell us more about that shortly, but first of all, I was going to ask you how challenging, you started answering this question already, but tell us more about how challenging is it for the UNHCR to take care of these growing numbers of forcibly displaced persons?
Really is a challenge. It's a challenge in a sense that, as I said, first of all, the resources is going down, but at the same time, the needs are going up. So you see, this difference is creating the problem. And then so what we are doing for now is one, to to do the prioritization. So we prioritize the people who can get the services, which means we need to use the vulnerability criteria so that we can target the most vulnerable and the most needed. Secondly, we broaden the partnership so that not UNHCR to do the job itself, but to come with other partner. So we improve the partnership so that we can at least improve the service.
What explains the dwindling financial resources of UNHCR?
Is worldwide. It's not just I can say the Cameroon, but it's worldwide, because if you look at the number of crises in the world is many, and then at the same time the number of people in need are increasing. I was saying at the beginning of my intervention that we have almost 108 million, which 20 years ago it was just 30 million. You see the difference there, I mean, in terms of number, whereas the number of donors, they remain the same. So it's normal that when the need is high and the resources is almost the same, we cannot do, there is no magic to do. It is, it will be difficult, the coming time, because the resource will not be available.
I understand that the demand has grown far above your means, your initial means. Now, while waiting for other donors to come on board, other partners to come on board, as you said earlier, that you're broadening the scope to increase the number of donors in order to increase your financial resources. How are you navigating through with the limited resources that you have to be able to meet the basic needs of these persons who are in camps and other areas?
We are promoting now what we call inclusion, so that the refugees, they should start now to be self-reliant. The refugees should be, we are building their capacity, professional capacity, so that they can now contribute to the economy, not to, to rely 100% on the humanitarian aid. That is where we are going, which means that what we call durable solution, by making self-reliant refugees. And then also, as I said, as the financial resources will be shrinking more and more, the only way is to make the refugees to be actor of the development rather than waiting. This is justify even the subject for this year, the inclusion, which means that we need to include the refugees in the economy, not to put them in the refugee camp and then waiting, huddle, and then waiting just humanitarian aid. We need to have a transformative approach, which means the refugees should be also participating to the economy, and then the refugees should be also contributing to the local economy.
So the inclusion is about bringing them into the community, not excluding them and keeping them in refugee camps, but getting them involved in normal activities of their host communities.
Exactly.
And how are you going about making sure that happens? Because we know that there are certainly some barriers due to the new environment in which they find themselves, maybe the laws of the land and other factors that could be constitute a barrier.
Okay, the beauty of Africa is that, which means that somebody from Central Africa, when he cross the border, they have the similarity, ethnicity similarity. And then this is also allowing better inclusion, because we have realized when we do analysis of the situation, the refugee, when he goes in the area where the person doesn't have a connection, the integration is quite difficult than when they cross to the border,
to a neighboring
country, and then they find the same tribe or the same ethnic, and then it became easy for them to connect. And then when you look at most of the refugees, where we have 80% of the refugees, the far north and east or north of Cameroon, you will see that refugees, they are in the area where they have ethnicity similarity, which is helping the integration and reducing sometimes the friction.
The friction.
Yes.
Now, about enabling them to have access to some services, to have access to some rights, like the nationals of their home, the community, or the country hosting them.
Yes.
How are you bridging that gap in order to enable them to have access to some services, to have access to some rights, like every other person in the country hosting them?
That is where is the beauty of the law in Cameroon. The law on the refugees in Cameroon is a beautiful one, because what we call the law on the refugee is giving the refugee in Cameroon the same rights as a Cameroonian. So that is why we are saying thank you to the hospitality of the Cameroon by having this progressive law. And then this is exactly showing that the head of state is an African champion, because he has the Pan-African approach in dealing with the refugees issue. And in the law 2005/06, which is about the way the Cameroon is dealing with the refugees, is giving the same right to refugees as the national. So the refugees, he can work, the refugees can go to school, can study, the refugees can open business. That is the beauty of this law.
They can own national identity card?
No, they cannot own the national identity card, but they have the refugee card, which is provided by the government. For example, yesterday, some refugees have received also their refugee card, biometric refugee card, delivered by the government of Cameroon through DGSN. Is a biometric card, is in the law of Cameroon. There is no different. I mean, there is no confusion for a refugee to take a Cameroonian card, because the law are already defined the card for refugee.
All right. We'll continue to talk more about this, but before that, we'll go to the newsstands now, and we'll take a look at what the newspapers reported this week in Cameroon. This is the press review by Immaculate Fogwe.
Municipal update exclaims over what it qualifies as despicable agony in Bamenda, northwest region of Cameroon. The killing of 14 persons, including a couple that wedded recently. The Sun tells its readers what happened and how. The Garden Post goes further with the precision that 12 people were killed by men in uniform within 48 hours. The Voice says after the horrific weekend in Bamenda, corpses litter Nancho Junction. The killers of the 10 persons at Nancho Junction are qualified as cowards by the Post. While the nation is mourning, government is accusing separatist fighters as reported by the Garden Post. According to the Garden Post, 5 divisions in the northwest region are cut off from the regional capital due to the blockage of roads by separatist fighters. On the front page of Municipal Updates, the Cameroon Bar Council calls for unmasking of sponsors of the cessation conflict in the northwest and southwest regions. Meantime, another issue of the paper reports that 10 more separatist fighters have surrendered in the Dian Division, southwest region. In a similar story, Cameroon Echoes reports the graduation of 20 repentant poachers and bush meat vendors from the Limba Advanced Vocational Training Center. The Dawn highlights landslides and reckless driving as the causes of death of 5 persons in Limbe. The Horizon projects the rank of Cameroon in the prosecution and jailing of journalists. The paper says, concerning the freedom of journalists in sub-Saharan Africa, Cameroon is the second worst jailer and prosecutor. In the fight against malaria, the Dawn reports that Cameroon is awaiting 18 million doses of the new malaria vaccine. Another issue of the Voice takes readers into 10 years of innovation and consistency of the Treasury Department of Cameroon, covering the period running from 2013 to 2023. The Advocate and the Herald Tribune celebrate the exploits and excellent leadership of ICT University founder, Cameroon-born Professor Victor Mbarika, awarded in London. We wrap up with the Garden Post as it questions if the cancellation of celibacy can be the solution to the rising trend of Catholic priests quitting priesthood. This is Press Review.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. We are still with our guest, Cesar Baf Chilombo, who is the Cameroon Deputy Resident Representative of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Now, what are some of the urgent needs of UNHCR, apart from the finances? What are some of its urgent needs to step up its the aid it is bringing to these persons?
The first need is to have an agency dealing 100% with refugees in Cameroon. So the President of the Republic has given instruction for the creation of this commission for refugees, because, as you know, in Cameroon we don't have a commission dealing with refugees. That is the most I can say urgent need. And then secondly, also the transfer of competencies. UNHCR cannot be there forever. We need now to transfer the competencies to the commission that we can be created, which means to the government. And thirdly, we are advocating for the freedom of movement of refugees, so that the refugees should be included in socio-economical network of the country. And then how this is possible is, as we said, by providing the ID card, which means not the Cameroonian ID card, the refugee card, to all the refugees, so that the card is recognized by the government so that it can give them freedom of movement. And then there will also be the possibility for refugees to go to the financial institution, to deal with the financial institution, because they will have an ID which can identify them. And then this is also important because of what? Because, as we said, the resources going down, and then the refugees should be able to be self-reliant. And then to be self-reliant, there are some prerequisites. Prerequisite is the freedom of movement. The requisite is to be able to create their own structure when they are well identified. That's the main issue. And then also what we want as UNHCR is to make the regional platform, for example, for the situation like Central African Republic, to be operational. Because, as you know, the Central African situation cannot be solved only by Cameroon, but it should be a regional situation, because we have Central African refugees around 6 countries, and then so we need to have a regional approach, and then this is what we are pushing. And then also I can say I cannot finish without saying thank to the government of Cameroon, especially the Minerex, for the dialogue, what we call the dialogue, multi-stakeholder dialogue that we have with them for the management of the refugees. This is helping us really to address the issue of refugees.
Right, let me key in right there and find out from you, how is the collaboration between the government institutions, the competent government institutions in matters of refugees and internally displaced persons, and the UNHCR? How is the collaboration?
I can say we are the most luckiest person in the world, because we have a very, very good relationship with the government. And then also we are consulting the government to every move that we are doing, because as I said it at the beginning, UNHCR is coming to support the government. So, being support for the government, we have to have quite a sound relationship with the government. And then I can say here, this relationship is really sound.
Now,
that is.
If some of the refugees in the Minawa camp, internally displaced persons in the northwest, southwest regions of the country, listening to you now, they may want to know how soon they will have a change or solutions to some of these problems that they are facing today. And some of them who have been receiving what they qualify as peanuts from the government of Cameroon, and they are expecting more. How soon can they expect an enhanced intervention of the UNHCR that will help to bring them out of the difficult, precarious conditions in which they find themselves today?
I can say that there is no magic solution. It is a process. Being a process, it takes time. The process takes time. And as I said, we are limited in terms of a funding solution. That is why we are, in terms of strategy, is the involvement of refugees in a search for solution. And here in Yaoundé and Douala, we have organized the refugees in a communal committee, which means that municipality committee, and dealing directly with the government in looking together the solution. There will not be a solution coming from the heaven, but we need to build this solution together with the refugees. That is what we do tell them. Let us find the solution together put the idea together. We are transparent, saying this is what we have, what we do with what we have. Give us now some ideas so that we work together and then we find a solution. That is what we call the participative approach, which means that the refugees themselves, they are participating to the design of the solution. Because it is like you are in your house thinking that if you are not showing what you are earning to your wife will think that you have a lot of money. And then the wife will ask you what you cannot. But if the wife knows what you are earning really, you will find the solution. That is what transparency. That is what we are doing with the refugees now.
All right. Is there any difference in approach in the way you handle urban and rural refugees? The refugees who are in urban centers and those who are in the remote areas?
Okay, yes and no. Yes, because in urban there are some facilities that, some services that we are not giving because of the fact that in urban we are limited with the funding that we are addressing to the urban. But no, we are giving them the same services in terms of protection. So we have a sort of transversality in terms of provision of the services. And then also economical opportunities. In town, there is a lot. So we are working on building their capacity so that they can find a solution. In the remote area, as you said yourself, refugees are, first of all, I can say, a burden for the community, because most of remote area where the refugees are living are underdeveloped area. Even before the arrival of the refugees, those areas were struggling economically. And then imagine now we put a number of refugees on top of these difficulties that those people were facing. So there is a lack of opportunity. That is why the service that we are providing there is not limited only to refugees. We are also going beyond the refugees and then going to host community, the most vulnerable. Because we know that the host community, they have been the first responder when the refugees arrived. So this lack of opportunity, this is what also dictating the way we are coping with refugees in urban refugees and the rural refugees.
Right. Now, before we go further, because I want us to talk about the World Refugee Day itself.
Yes.
Before that, how are the refugees responding to the approach of inclusion, the inclusive approach, the approach in which you want to give them some degree, a certain degree of autonomy to be able to fend for themselves? You want to empower them. How are they responding to this approach? What are some of the challenges they have in terms of assimilating what you're giving them, maybe as knowledge to be able to be autonomous to a certain extent, financial-wise? How are they responding to this approach?
I invite you on Monday at Hotel de Ville, where we see we have
Hotel de Ville in Yaoundé.
Yes, we have an exposition
Yaoundé
for refugees.
Council Hall.
Yes, you will see what the refugees they are bringing to the community. So they are also ready to play their role as actors rather than sitting to be helped. The refugees, they are really aware of that. And then we see that we have people with masters, we have people, entrepreneurs and so on. They are among the refugees. They are not only the beggars, no. There is a false perception that need to be changed. The refugees, they are like you and I. They can exactly respond like you and I to the change that you are bringing. But what we need is this change to be designed by themselves. not to be like something given a la carte, which means it's a mere menu, just choose. Okay, no, we need to work together with them. That is what we are doing as UNHCR. We work together with them, and then we find a solution for the inclusion where they want to go, and then we do the same. And then for now, for example, through the Albert Einstein program, we have a lot of boys with very good qualification, boys and girls with a very good qualification among the refugees. So they can be really, if you go inside the refugees, you will be surprised. It's amazing. You have all the quality that we need, and then they can respond. They are responding positively. That is what is encouraging us to go further.
Interviews of the week.
We know the context in which we are today. The two keywords are peace and development. So we shall continue to work so that peace fully returns. Here in our village, Bakebe, it's an emerging village. So I think the roadmap is right from the entire subdivision and the entire division of Manu.
Not only peace will reign to this village, but also the school should go. You cannot talk about development without school, without students going to school. I would like to call upon the whole population, including those in the diaspora, to work in close collaboration with the new chief.
On this issue of the cocoa producers, it all started when this crisis became so severe, so tense. 2018, all the companies like Terka or Lancam that they used to be there to carry this cocoa, including Bisek, they all left Manu division. And we came together as Manu cocoa farmers because the cocoa must be produced and it must be sold. We came together, formed Manu Cocoa Farmers Union to see how we can carry this cocoa ourselves to Douala, where the companies are. That was done, and along Guti, there was an attack where these separatists, they burned down this vehicle. And the delegate of commerce promised us draw a constat, and there was some write-ups to the regional delegate that the government is going to compensate the farmers for that loss, because it was a good initiative for them to see how they want to carry their crops to Douala. But after that incident, they had no option. Since the cocoa is produced, they cannot eat the cocoa. They must look for a possible market. And now that was the main reason why they tried to smuggle this cocoa to Nigeria. We have more than 30 illegal routes, illegal beaches around Manu Division. Manu Division is a border with Nigeria. Everywhere you go, you will find yourself in Nigeria. So farmers, this is the only activity, the only economy power for Manu Division, cocoa farming. So with a recent ban from the Minister of Trade gave this ban. Farmers were producing their cocoa, they could not sell, they had to go to the senior divisional officer from Manu Division, who is the father for that division, to go and cry to him. It was a peaceful march. They went and cried to him as their father, who told the population that, I was not there the day of the event, who told the population that they are going he's going to send their cry to hierarchy. And I'm sure that must have been done because the farmers are producing the cocoa and this cocoa must be sold. The ban affects, looking at multiplier effect. If you are producing cocoa, you cannot sell. How do you pay the workers? If your child is sick, how do you send the child to the hospital? Mafe The administration has worked a lot. That school have resumed. Everybody is sending his child to school. If you don't have money, how will you send your child to school, even to buy books? Now, the man who is selling the book, the man who has a hospital, the man who is selling food, workers, how do they pay their rent? And that is why I, as the president of the Manu cocoa producers, I had to move to Yaoundé with my delegation to see the minister, to explain to the minister what is actually happening, because he may be there in Yaoundé and he's not aware. And I told when I went to Yaoundé, the minister received me and invited the director of external trade and the secretary general of JICS. And they listened to me. And there is a cocoa stock in a cock now, which we have declared, and I wrote to the minister, let him use his power to compel these companies. Let the companies come to a cock. A cock is secured. Let them come and buy this cocoa so that the population can be free. And the minister promised that he's going to do that. He immediately removed a circular, sent to these companies, let them come and attend to us, because the cocoa is there. Up till now, we are still waiting for the companies, but since my name was there, the companies are instead calling me to bring the cocoa to Douala. Yes, actually, the government is going to give a solution. The government is an orderly government. They must listen to the cry of the people. The minister has listened to us. The minister is the one who sent me to have a meeting with the general manager of ONCC, who is even surprised today to hear that when the cocoa that was impounded in the Imojo, that it has been, he knew that the cocoa is is still blocked at the custom warehouse, which I told him no. The cocoa is all in the hands of farmers. They have just packed it in a cock, waiting for them to send companies. I got it myself from Cameroon College, from the mayor of Manfi Council, who said the people who march to the NZ office are not farmers, which is a very big lie. Manu is an envelope, is there. Everybody knows everybody. Farmers cannot move in that number to the NGO office, and somebody is saying that they were not farmers. Had it been they were even boys and girls, you would have said, oh, maybe they have brought them from somewhere. You see old people expressing their pain to the SDU, who is the father of this division, because they know that they can have help from him. And of course, this population is a CPDM population.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Now we want to talk about the World Refugee Day itself. That is observed every year around the 20th of June. So this year the focus is on hope away from home, and focusing also on refugees feeling at home, out of home, through inclusion. First of all, what is the essence of this day, the World Refugee Day? What's the essence of the day?
This is a very good question. The World Refugee Day is, first of all, the day where we need to highlight the rights, the needs, and the dreams of refugees, because dreams are for free. The refugees also, they have the right to dream. And then this also help to mobilize the political will, and also mobilize the resources so that refugee can survive, and not only to survive but to thrive also. And it is also the period where we have to highlight to the people that refugees exist in the country. because sometimes the people, they don't know if the refugees are in the Cameroon. And then it is also the time where we can tell the Cameroonian, please, the Cameroon is the country with hospitality. We are hosting in this country more than 500,000 of refugees. And then also it is the time where we have to highlight the need for protection and then improvement of the life of refugees. That is the importance. And then to saying that by doing so, by helping the refugees, you can put the smile on the face. That is why we are celebrating this day, because it is quite important. And then also helping to focus the world's attention on the plight of those who have flee the conflict or the persecution.
How important is the role of host communities?
Is quite paramount. Because as I said, before UNHCR, if there is an influx, before UNHCR knows that there is an influx, is the host community, isn't it? Is the one who welcomed the refugees. Even before the government come in to know that there are refugees here, is the host community informing the sous-prefet, the chief of village, that we have influx in the village. So the host community is playing quite a big role. That is why at the UNHCR we are always thanking the host community. And then when we design the response for refugees, we are always putting in our response a component for host community.
All right. What are some of the reactions that you have noted from the host communities in Cameroon? Because we know that in some communities, not necessarily in Cameroon, there is this sentiment when we begin to talk about inclusion, getting the refugees into the communities and to have the same rights, the same opportunities with the nationals. There is sometimes this, in some cases, there's this idea or this feeling that they are coming to take our jobs. They are coming to further complicate our living conditions that are already very much difficult.
So far, we don't have this. Sentiment or this reaction of the host community. And then it is true that the presence of refugees is putting pressure on the community. And then it is based on that when we have the international community has requested the High Commissioner to come out with a new approach in terms of protection of refugees. And then this new approach that we called Global Compact on Refugees, which has been even our president have been part of this design of the Global Compact on Refugees. The strategic objective number one for the Global Compact on Refugees is how to release the pressure of the presence of the refugee on host community. So UNHCR should work with the government to see how they can release this pressure so that we can avoid this kind of tension between the refugees and the host community. This is quite important in the way we are addressing things. If, for example, UNHCR come only to build a school for refugees, it will create a tension, isn't it? If now UNHCR build a school which will serve host community and refugees, the host community look at the refugees differently. If the refugee was not here, we could not have a school. That is what is passing in Lolo and Bile. That is what you have in Kenzu. They are saying, thank you to refugees because now we have schools. That is, which means that is depending on the way you see the glass. Okay?
Whether it is half full.
Half full or full.
All right. Tell us a little more about the theme of the 2023 World Refugee Day.
It is one of the special one because this World Refugees for this year is under the auspices of the First Lady of Cameroon, Madame Chantal Biya, who accepts to the patronage of this event. For us is meaningful because knowing her support toward vulnerable persons group, and then also her fight against human suffering, accepting this one to sponsor this year Refugee Day. It was, as I said, meaningful for us because it is a translation or an expression of hospitality of the Cameroon. As you know, when you arrive in any home, if the mother is not giving you water, you will not be happy. And then when the mother give you already water, you will see that in this house they have welcomed me. That is why the First Lady have accepted to support refugees in this World Refugee Days. It has been the personification of the hospitality of the Cameroon through the First Lady. That is why I'm saying for this year is quite special.
Quite special.
Yes.
With focus on home away from home.
Yes.
Home away from home.
Yes.
And of course, a world where refugees are always included. Refugees are always, mark that word, always.
Always.
Means not sometimes, but they are always included.
Yes. Because, as I said, you have 500,000. Mm-hmm. 500,000 of population. You leave them aside. Which means that you are wasting manpower for your development. When you include them, it became an added value for you. Because as I said, among the refugees, we have intellectuals and doctors and so on. So when you put this capacity out, so you lose the manpower. That is why, as I said, the first thing that we are doing as UNHCR is the empowerment of refugees through education, through professional training, so that they can be useful while they are in exile, and then when they will go back to their country of origin. That is quite important. Secondly, we do the inclusion because we believe that the exclusion of refugees has the high costs for the country, the hosting country. When you exclude them, it will be costly than including them. That is how we are saying. And then also, why we cannot take stock of a positive contribution of refugees in the hosts, in the local economy. That is why we are saying, when you include the refugees, you are bringing an added value because you can boost your economy in the area where you are living. I remember here I was with the mayor of Kenzu, and then he was saying, before the arrival of refugees, Kenzu was not like that.
It means Kenzu, the refugees have triggered some development.
Some development.
Right.
When we did not have refugees, Lolo and Bile were not like they are today.
All right. Now, I want you to, I don't know, before, I wanted you to send a message to the refugees themselves.
Exactly.
Because they too, they have a role to play in their well-being, in their mindset, in the way they relate with the people, in the way they relate with...
La vie chère est une réalité.